Alexandra Eala just saved match point at 5 deuces in the 12th game of the third set at Indian Wells, and the crowd inside that stadium stopped being a tennis crowd entirely. This isn't a feel-good story. This is a reckoning.
Last year in Miami, and I'm from there, and whole crowd was against me, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, where do these people come from?
Every headline in early 2026 reads some version of Nadal shocked. But here's what the verified record actually shows, and it's far more interesting than shock. On November 19, 2025, exactly 1 calendar year after Rafael Nadal's retirement from professional tennis following the Davis Cup, Nadal walked back onto a court in Mallorca, Spain, not for a charity exhibition, not for a press event, for a 45-minute high-intensity training session with Alexandra Eala. Nadal told Jorge Valdano on the Movistar Plus program Universo Valdano that his tank was already empty when it came to professional competition, and yet Nadal chose to spend his first return to high-intensity play not with a peer, not with a former rival, but with a 20-year-old from Quezon City, Philippines. That's not shock, that's deliberate investment. And what did Nadal focus on during those 45 minutes? Specific technical work on Eala's left-handed forehand. The same left-handed forehand that 4 months later at Indian Wells was cutting through Diana Yastremska's defensive setup like a scalpel. But that's not where the Nadal connection ends.
You hear it from the hotel, you can hear the crowd roaring, especially at night.
Alexandra Eala has said it herself. We're both lefties. I loved how he fought on court, so I try to also channel that. That's not inspirational language, that's tactical doctrine. On March 7, 2026, in a cold late-night session at the BNP Paribas Open, Eala faced Diana Yastremska, ranked number 52 in the world, in a match that ran exactly 163 minutes. Eala described the tennis balls as feeling heavier in the cold air. That one detail tells you everything about the conditions she was grinding through. Here's how Eala's game works against right-handed opponents like Yastremska. Her cross-court left-handed forehand produces a high-bouncing trajectory that lands directly on the opponent's backhand, forcing defensive play, forcing errors, forcing exactly the kind of breakdown Yastremska experienced in that third set. Eala fell to 4-5 in the decider and was staring at elimination. So she shifted, deepened her returns, disrupted Yastremska's service rhythm, broke back to 5-5, held at love to reach 6-5, and then closed out the match in a 12th game that went to 5 deuces. 5 deuces, 1 game, deciding set, while trailing the match. That win earned Eala 65 ranking points and $61,865 in prize money. And what happened next changed the situation in a way nobody saw coming.
The way that she's been able to pack stadiums and the way that her country supports her is something special.
The phrase Filipino Army is everywhere in coverage of the 2026 Indian Wells run. But that phrase collapses something very specific into something very vague. And the specifics are where the real story is. California is home to the highest population of Filipino residents in the United States, estimated at roughly 2 million people. That's not the crowd inside Stadium 1. That's the surrounding population, the diaspora infrastructure that turned Eala's court 6 practice sessions into a documented phenomenon. Fans with selfie sticks recording every drill, fans sitting on adjacent courts just to catch a glimpse of her training. That's all drawn from that 2 million-person reservoir. Tournament officials at the 2026 BNP Paribas Open confirmed Eala is bringing a new demographic to the sport, increasing center court occupancy and expanding the WTA's reach into the Southeast Asian diaspora. During the match, the crowd was described as predominantly Filipino, a much-needed boost, sources said, during that cold, grinding late-night session. This isn't cultural hype, it's measurable market disruption. The WTA is watching a demographic shift happen in real time, and Alexandra Eala is the catalyst. But not everyone was celebrating. At the 2026 Australian Open, during Eala's match against Alicia Parks, the pro-Eala crowd was criticized for howling and cheering at Parks' unforced errors. Observers called it a hostile environment, and that tension sits right at the center of the Eala phenomenon, the part no headline wants to fully examine. The same Filipino Army that tournament officials credit for filling seats and driving digital engagement was flagged by security for behavior that breaks sharply from traditional tennis etiquette. The WTA has a real logistical challenge on its hands. A fan base this large, this emotionally invested, and this culturally distinct from the sport's historical audience doesn't automatically conform to Wimbledon-era crowd norms. And how to channel that intensity without alienating the sport's existing base? No tournament director has publicly answered that question. And this is where things get more complicated, because the crowd friction story is actually the smallest controversy in the Eala media ecosystem. Here's what the verified financial record shows for Alexandra Eala as of March 2026. Career earnings of approximately $1,665,667. In 2025 alone, she earned close to $907,000, the equivalent of roughly 53 million Philippine pesos. Her single largest career payday was the 2025 Miami Open at $332,000. Now here's what the internet claimed, that Abu Dhabi billionaire Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan offered Eala a $1.6 billion contract, a 10-year deal with a $1 billion down payment and $600 million annually. Fact-checkers confirmed it was a complete fabrication. No such offer existed. Eala herself expressed concern over the spread of what she called shocking news online. The same fabrication machine produced Nadal shocked headlines, claims of Novak Djokovic boycotting ABC in defense of Eala, and stories of Oprah Winfrey attacking her. None of it supported by a single verified report from any major sports or news outlet. What's actually real? Eala has a Milo endorsement deal that analysts describe as a massive financial cushion, funding a full traveling team including specialized physiotherapists. What's actually real? Serious discussions are underway about a future WTA event in Manila. What's actually real? Eala entered Indian Wells 2026 ranked number 31 in the world, not as a wild card, not as a qualifier, but as a seeded professional with a first-round bye. The gap between the fabricated version of Eala and the actual one is staggering. And ironically, the fabricated version undersells just how significant the real one already is. Eala's round 3 opponent at Indian Wells 2026 was world number 4 Coco Gauff, her former doubles partner, and someone Eala had already faced just weeks earlier at the Dubai Championships quarterfinal. The Gauff-Eala matchup is now being called a marquee WTA rivalry, established American elite against the surging Asian market. That framing isn't accidental. The WTA is a commercial entity, and a rivalry between the face of American tennis and the player being called the Pacquiao of tennis, whose career has become a national movement in the Philippines, carries premium broadcast value across 2 of the largest sports markets in the world. After Indian Wells, Eala is scheduled for the Miami Open from March 17th through 29th, 2026, where she'll try to go further than her historic 2025 semi-final run, the same run where she beat Iga Swiatek and Madison Keys as a wild card. Defending those ranking points, on top of 3 quarterfinal appearances in the first 2 months of 2026, defines the new baseline Eala is now expected to meet. Experts have already named her a potential top 10 threat. At number 31 in the world, that target is within realistic reach. Alexandra Eala walked off the Indian Wells court on March 7, 2026, having beaten Diana Yastremska in 163 minutes, having earned $61,865, having added 65 ranking points toward a top 20 goal, and having done all of it with a left-handed forehand built in Mallorca under a 22-time Grand Slam champion who chose to return to the court specifically for her. The Filipino Army celebrated. Tournament officials took notes. The WTA watched its demographic future play out in the California desert. But here's the question nobody has answered yet. When a fan base this large and this passionate follows a player this talented into the upper echelons of professional tennis, at what point does the crowd stop being an asset and start becoming the story?